Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. And this is Sayyid Inayat Hussain back again with another video. In today's video, we would be going through this very book which has been written by Viktor Frankl. Basically, he was a physician. So this book titled Man's Search for Meaning. So this very title goes with every person who is living on this very cosmos, that what is the purpose of life. You know, this very book deals with some more aspects to find the meaning in one's life, which we would be discussing in few minutes. So I just want to start this very video with Nietzsche's line, which goes like this: he who has a why to live for can bear with almost anyhow. So like this very title, this very line, what is the actual purpose of one's life? So here we have to find that very aspect of one's life, one's errand of life, you know, that very purpose, that very meaning which one has in his life. So this book got published in 1946. So just after when he was released from the concentration camp in 1945. And the thing which we have to emphasize over here is that the writer Viktor Frankl, who has just written this very book in 9 days. So just because he has been through all these sufferings in his life, and he has seen many things which most of the people in this very cosmos ever had imagined. So before going to start, few lines from that text that somehow shows us the real meaning or finding the real purpose of life, I would like to say that we as a human being have this very responsibility to find that very aspect, to find that very purpose which we have in our lives. So like this guy, the doctor who was in the concentration camp of Auschwitz in Austria back in 1945, at the time of Second World War and the Holocaust time, which somehow cannot be forgotten with ease for so many long time, you would say. So I have somehow analyzed this very book, and I have somehow collected few lines from this very book that would be helpful for any reader out there and any listener. So I would be going to read those lines for you, and according to my own understanding, I would be interpreting, I would be elaborating, I would be evaluating, I would be explaining those lines. So the very first line which I have quoted before is from a philosopher, Nietzsche: he who has a why to live for can bear with almost anyhow. Like this is the purpose, that why in this very quotation is the purpose of one's life. It's actually the understanding of our own, that how people have to understand those very things from their life that are of much importance. Like you do have a purpose in your life, and for that purpose first you have to understand, you have to introspect your own self to find that very thing in your life. So I would be giving you a preview of this very book. Like he was in the concentration camp in 1942 and up to 1945, almost 3 years. So he has been like up to 4 different places with much differences in their sufferings from one place to another. They rarely find food. Those people who were, like you would say, those who were keen, like about their life, about their work, they somehow manage, to get through all these sufferings. Like you have already heard that very term, survival of the fittest. So here it goes with this story of this doctors also, Dr. Frankl. So here you would see, these people, it's actually a real photograph of those Jewish people from, Second World War who have been through these sufferings. So like in this very picture, you can see, these people have become so thin, so lean, so skinny. I somehow remember John Keats' line from Ode to Nightingale, where he says that where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. So like these, Jewish people who are being gassed in those chambers in Auschwitz, in that concentration camp. So like in that time, almost 1.5 million people, Jewish people, were gassed in those concentration camps. Somehow they numbered each and every individual in those concentration camps. For those people, for those Germans, it doesn't matter that how these people are going to survive in such harsh conditions, but the only thing that mattered to them was their numbers. The only, you would say, their existence is just as equal to a numerical or a number. So I would be going through some lines. So it is from page number 9. It goes like this: their sound was almost like the last cry of a victim, and yet there was a difference. Now, any victim who is going through such harsh conditions, we would be saying this very thing from times to times, that, whenever there would be our death, or we would be nigh towards our end of life, we somehow, we somehow see those supernatural beings around, or those deceased one before. So here it goes like this, their difference means that have become, those people have become so much thin, so much, you would say, spectre thin. Those people have become so much, famine, like from starvation, all these things, that somehow they look like, they look like apparitions, they look like ghosts. So here the writer wants to create that very feeling of the readers towards the actual scene which he has been through. And the another of the line goes, it's on page number 18 of the book. Yes, a man can get used to anything, but do not ask us how. It's humans, it's in humans' gene, it's in humans' nature that we become as the nature, as the vicinity, as the surrounding or the background which we are having. Actually, we mold ourselves to that very surrounding which we somehow live in. So this is how that, you don't have to ask that how you have molded yourself to live in such a surrounding. It's in our genes, we have to survive either that way or the other way. So like there would be, situations in our life that we somehow have to mold ourselves towards, that very things, that very situations which we are being through or which we are in. So there's another line, that somehow is, if you are going through these very lines, that somehow, you know, you are connecting yourself. If you scrutinize those lines, if you do have emotional connection towards, you know, reading, or you do read things, you know, thoroughly, so somehow you make a connection towards those very characters in that play or novel also. So, you know, this line is on page number 31. It goes like, this body here, my body, is really a corpse already. So now, as I have shown the picture on the back of the book, you know, where you have seen those people in such a spectral condition, in such a ghost-like condition, like they have become so thin, you know. So this is also about, you know, those description of those bodies. They have already become corpse, you know. Corpse is like a dead man's body, or you would be saying, you know, they look like corpse, although they are living, you know, that thing doesn't matter. But the condition of their body has become like a corpse. So if you are going through these very lines, I think there are much lines that we have somehow to understand this very thing. So yeah, somehow, you know, just before I have told you about the numbering of those prisoners in the concentration camp. So this line goes with that very context, which I have already, you know, described. So it's on page number 53. It goes like this: a man counted only because he had a prison number. So this was their, you know, identity, or they were having a prisoner number. So that's because they are being counted over there. So like each and every line which I have been through, you know, this very book have, you know, those impacts on ourselves, that somehow we do have to, you know, you would be saying that somehow any human being, like we as a human being are doing these very things with another human being, like that's much like us, that's, you know, not from another world, but we have become so much, you know, obsessed, so much cruel, or so much, you would be saying, you know, animal-like features which we have got, and we have become so much fierce and so much brutal that we somehow, you know, brutalized another human being. Although he is also a human being, maybe he has different values, traditions, religion, race, ethnicity, maybe he is having other perception about this world, but at the end, the thing that matters is he is also a human being. So it's not the right thing to do in war-like situation also. So few lines are there also which we have to, you know, somehow like think about them. So it's like about the emancipation, about the freedom. It's on page number 87, which goes like this: freedom. We had said this word so often that during all the years we dreamt about it, that is, it had lost its meaning. Now, here, you know, each and every word has a certain description which we, you know, just say when we utter those very words. So now this freedom, you know, this liberty or this emancipation, so it has somehow, with their sufferings, you know, in this camp, it has somehow lost its meaning. So now these people have been so despondent, they have been, you know, they have like been through such a situation that even the freedom word for themselves has become, you know, meaningless. So now they doesn't understand how to go through this very thing. So after that, we would be having, you know, like much lines. Each and every line is quite, you would say, of importance. So another line I would be, going to scrutinize or elaborate is from page number 90. It goes like this: so the man who has suddenly been liberated from mental pressure can suffer damage to his moral and spiritual health. If a person has been through all these sufferings for a certain time of his life, so if you do things to that person in such brutality, even though if he got freedom, so these experiences, these things somehow affect that very person from inner side. So there is the last important thing, which although this video is going to be much in length, that's why I would be just elaborating this very line. So doctor says that we watched and witnessed some of our comrades behave like swine while others behaved like saints. Man has both potentialities within himself. Which one is actualized depends on decisions, but not on conditions. So here's the thing, those people, they have been through such a brutal situation, such brutal, condition in their life, but some of them have behaved, like saints, although they have been through such brooding or some kind of religious gathering. They have come up with their saintly behavior, while others converted themselves into swine or animals like this. All the situations same. So it is our psyche, it's our understanding of things. Like here we have to understand this very development in our existence, that's somehow what is the man aspect of one's understanding towards thing. So somehow it's in our own, like it's in our own blood, it's in our own lineage or progeny, or you would be saying hierarchy, that whatever the conditions would be, it's totally dependent on us, that how we behave. Either we should behave like saints, or we would be behaving like animals or swines, etc. So this is somehow the story and few lines which I quoted from that very book. So I would be saying that further of the man things which I would be going to discuss in few minutes also, but here I would be saying that you do read texts by heart, scrutinize those words, read between the lines. So you have to give a thorough reading to any book, any piece of text, to understand the actual meaning. So there is less said, but much to be understood. So that's how you have to understand. So some prominent elements and themes of this novel would be Holocaust destruction. Here in this very destruction we would be saying about physiological effects, like their bodies, their shape, how it has been developed with time, with starving, with starvation, with having like one meal, just a piece of bread for whole the day, and suffering in those chilly areas, cold areas, frozen places, which where they hardly had anything to cover their bare bodies. So like there we would be having physiological effects, psychological effects, like if a person has been through these situation, it somehow it somehow affects his psychology, his physiology both. So there are also pre and pro-war destructions, like we have been through the text. So there you would be witnessing those destructions also. The second thing is nihilism is there, like meaninglessness, like the errand of life is missing, the purpose of life is missing. So in there we would be having religious depravity is there, like those Christians, they somehow, they somehow neglect those very teachings of their Christianity and went through such harsh experiences over the Jewish people. So pessimism is on the verge for all those, deceased, all those sufferers, all those, people in the camps. So another very thing is meaninglessness is there, like they are unable to find the real meaning of their life because of such, obsessed condition, because of such harshness in their living. So boredom is also there. So the other thing is power practice, under which absolute power practice is there, all power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Somehow, that lines goes with it. So there, and those Christians are practicing absolute power over those Jewish people. So another very thing is imprisonment and sufferings, which we have witnessed also, and famine kind of situation, and starvation is also there, brutality of men on men is also there. So the very theme of this is existentialism, like life purpose, what is the actual purpose of one's life, how to understand the actual purpose of one's life, how to understand that very thing which we, which we are born, to understand, or to know that why we are here and what is the actual purpose of our life. So conversion of humanity into animals and saints respectively, which we have already discussed. So by the end of this conversation, I would be saying like this, that whatever the conditions of one's person is, whatever you are being through in your life, you have to interpret, you have to elaborate, you have to explain, you have to scrutinize, you have to, describe your own life as your own understanding. Go for it, search for your own life. So somehow you have to read books, books are really helpful for you to understanding in your perception, in your understanding of worldly things and all those very things which are a part of our own, cosmos, our worldly life. So in the end of that video, I would be thanking each and everyone over there. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel for different videos also, and do share this very video with your friends and loved ones. Thank you so much.